Come on over to here. And okay, so you can see my selection from Merv's poses, right? So quick review of what we know. How to approach something like this. You don't have to draw this small. What I'm hoping is on a page, a full page, 18 by 24 drawing paper, that you'll do various poses of varying sizes, varying scales. But maybe some things you will do modestly in scale. Maybe some things you will draw larger. And you can even do some portions. You could do some fragments. You could do some things where you have focused just on, say, the head, and you've zoomed in and you looking at just that. It's up to you. Okay. A little here, a little there. Try to set up the page and make it an interesting kind of arrangement. But let's do some quick review. You know, how might I start this? Well, I could do some gesture. I could take out my sketchbook to the side and I could do some quick sort of gestural things, you know, to kind of acquaint myself with the pose and the subject. You know, I could do a few of those. I could do some careful contour studies, you know, to get myself formed. And of course, one thing that the model Merv is really good for is cross contour, you know, following the form, talking about how things turn in space, going around. Let's try to cover them all. You know, let's try to make sure that we're now putting it all together, that there is gesture in our work somewhere, that there is cross contour, you know, even if it's, you know, you don't have to make like a drawing that looks like you've wrapped the model in string, but you might be following the form when you're applying tone, or when you're, you know, you might incorporate that, as well as regular contour, you know, the outside contour, but then there's inner contours too, right? Lots of shape and value understanding, right? Hey, what's this negative space in here? What's this negative space in there? Remember that sort of stuff I showed you structurally? I think this is, it often is, I think it was true with this group as well, that sort of loose, you know, they don't have to be right away, kinds of structural lines. Boy, are you going to want to get the weight of that old dog belly there. But, you know, that kind of stuff where we kind of rough cut, you know, and do structural work, and we sort of look at, well, what would this be, you know, to help us work out that relationship, and what's going on there, you know, and if I'm doing that here, then how do these relate, you know, lightly. I actually think that that's probably been, now not all by itself, obviously, so you have to take that somewhere, but as far as getting established and getting going, and you know, when people are having a terrible time with the proportions, you know, over and over saying proportions and look out of proportion, the proportion, you know, well, this is the stuff, I think, like drawing these kind of structural lines, drawing through lightly, you know, and you can even do this on your source, just as I am, if you wish. The idea is that we learn how to do that with our eyes, you know, so that we don't have to always, you know, because you're going to be looking at life. It's not going to be a reproduction all the time. But, then, you know, light contour work with great consideration of what these negative spaces look like. That shape in there, this shape in there, you know, can help us to get this started. Uh, that has been very effective. Uh, gesture as a way to begin a drawing, which we practiced one day, is extremely effective too. What I found is that it takes more, because gesture has everything going at once and working together, and everything's loose and in play, and you can start comparing things and all that. But I found that it kind of takes some time. It's almost like you have to become really good at gesture. Or what I've observed is that when not super confident with gesture because it's early on, uh, folks may not be able to move from a loose gesture drawing, you know, along. Like this has a kind of measuring, you know, it's measuring and sighting, right? So by doing these kind of structural lines going like that, like there's a sort of like more immediate comfort with that that we may have early on as in drawing, and it doesn't mean you throw gesture out the window. It just means you know, give this stuff that I'm doing right now a try, the structural stuff, drawing through, comparing where things are related to other things, and then add careful consideration of negative spaces, because it's so easy to look at those, you know, and see if you're getting them right versus what you're looking at, right? And when you've done that, it's usually pretty easy to kind of assess, you know, all the way around. You may still have something like, oh, I need to shave off a little bit here. I've got this too big. Boy, does this dog have a big head anyway, but I made it even bigger still. You know, a little bit of that, you know, there still may be things like that that you have to do. But I've seen a lot of success with this kind of like rough cutting, blocking, uh, sighting, structural line drawing through method as a way to begin for working out relationships. Notice that I tend to say relationships more than proportions. Proportions is the word that is out there that everybody beats up and wears out. Oh my gosh, that's out of proportion, you know, or whatever. But I like to say relationships because comparing how things relate to other things is how you're going to get those right. Okay, so I want to work out the relationships. And you can even do, you know, some of this kind of stuff, you know, and then, you know, if you must, but don't do all the time like we did with the fragments. We were kind of drawing, you know, at the exact same scale. I was putting little marks by the edges of a rectangle that the fragments were in. You're going to want to do some of these drawings much larger than the reproduction, you know, so you know, don't do that every time. Don't give me a 1-to-1 scale. Like here's what my reproduction was, so that's, I'm drawing it exactly. That don't do that. Mix up the scale. Do some of these big and loose. I mean, try the works. What I'm out to do, as well as just getting some really great MERV drawings, is I'm also out to get a sort of thorough, comprehensive recap of everything that we've covered again. So think about all this sort of stuff, and you know, we've revisited it time and time again. But think about that. You know, am I doing this? Am I considering the negative spaces? Am I doing there's the contour. Have I done some structure? If you do one of these drawings, you might sort of think about, well, what of those things did I not do enough of? And then when you do another one of these studies of Merv the dog, try to address that. Like I really didn't get enough of that into that one. This one tended to be heavy on line work. I'm going to try to do another one that really like gets every last bit of the value. Or that one's pretty good, but it's still kind of sketchy. I want to get one that has like really wonderful tone work in it. And, this one makes sense to do big. I'll do it big, and I'll make sure that it has really magnificent line weight variation in it, as well as, and just kind of be a little bit of your own reminder of the things that we've done, with an idea that, well, we did animals, we did a page of animals, we did these fragments. For a while now, we've been in kind of putting it all together place. So I'm trying to put it all together, but I'm also going to sort of hold myself to, whatever it is that needs some work, or whatever it is that I tend, I'm gonna make one that's not only like a nice drawing of the dog, but it's also going to feature that kind of work, right? So you might even make a list off to the side, about, well, we had numerous lessons in this and that. I'm not saying you have to break out your ink wash, but you could do a nice structural line sort of drawing of, Merv, and then you could get some values in ink, different dilutions, and you could add some ink wash to your to one of your sketches, like you make a nice line drawing and then do light and shadow with the ink wash, right? You might think about I lost my train of thought there because somebody was at the door or something, but basically review it all, think about it all. What have I learned? Sometimes after working on people for a while, then I will break out Supermodel Merv, and folks will feel like, well, this is the best figure drawing I've done. The masses and shapes and form will be vividly on display for you. There will be, you won't have to search hard with this model for areas of volume and weight. Certainly won't have to work. He was 120 pounds. There's going to be lots of evidence of volume in space with this model. Okay, so go back into your whoops, sorry, let me get that back up. Go back into your memory and reflect upon the semester, and see if you can cover it all. All of this sort of things that we have done, right? And of course, above all, what shape do I see, and how much do I need to press upon this pencil to create you know, the right value, and where are edges soft, where are edges hard. And of course, we know now from working on these fragments that if you look hard enough, very few of them are truly hard. And in a lot of ways, we are back to the first day of, you know, sort of understanding that line work is where we can perceive an edge, and that everything can be described by matching its shape and its value, right? So great thing about the ModelWedNov model is doesn't need brakes. Don't accuse him of having moved on you, because he doesn't do that. So you see all this sort of the stuff that I'm doing as I'm talking, but you know, how well have we learned to kind of cut out shapes with our eyes? How well have we learned to kind of follow the form, to feel the volume? How well have we learned to get a lot of range out of our pencils, right? Please make sure that you really that thing I was talking about with facial fragments, when you get to what you would call the end, and this can be, remember how I tend to tilt my paper just to make sure there's no reflection off of the graphite, you know, try to pick your spots, as I call it, meaning go through and only do this where it should be done. But when one of your drawings might be finished and you're thinking about stopping, remember that thing I said about not being hesitant and about value, and look really close at where you might take, you know, some values even further, and try to really get some rich darks just in the places where you need them now, okay? But make at least one of these drawings that you do on this page really, really rich in value. You'll have some of these examples where it'll make sense. You might have one of them. This is not one of those, but there's some of those where Merv is actually posed on a dark ground. And if you've got one of those and you're drawing one of those, I would say, don't be afraid. Don't be reluctant. You know, go ahead and, you know, when you've done your drawing, you know, say to yourself, well, this is not one of these, because, you know, but you get the idea, because several of them are, you know, maybe just, you know, work negatively and include that information, you know, and lay it in there, you know, get a high number of B and make that negative space. It only takes a minute. It's not as big a shit work as we think it is, you know. You know, and tell the truth, you know, that Merv is against a dark backdrop in this case, and I want a really rich, you know, dark value around him, because that's what I see. All right. Don't be afraid to do that. You may notice that once I did that, all the areas that looked like they were fairly toned on his body or whatever, all of a sudden they don't look like that. You know, that simultaneous contrast happens again. All of a sudden, this doesn't look like it's got that much tone on it at all. right? So at least one of these, try to get very bold with that stuff. You know, maybe I'll do that and I'll say, well, there's some places on here that I can certainly add some more tone to. You know, he's an old tan dog. He's not, you know, Snow White within his fur. So I'm going to try to really match what I see and not hold back on that value. So give me, you know, I mean, fill up the page. Don't just do like one giant, you know, dog that fills the 18 by 24, although many people will do one quite sizable. It's fun, you know, remember to back up from it once in a while, but do a couple of others as well. And try to make your best drawings of the dog, but also what that will mean is that will mean reflecting upon everything that we've covered and making sure that you've done and included all of those techniques, all of that sort of, you know, like what have I left out? Well, that's pretty good, but my mark making is still pretty, you know, raw. Maybe I'll try to do another one that has subtle, soft, you know, delicate toning, a la that day that we did da 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 da. Maybe you'll do another one where you really do, you know, put on a clinic about line and line weight variation and stuff like that. Maybe one of these, you just try to get it all together and, you know, show the culmination of all this drawing stuff that we've done, okay? Any questions about this? Pretty straightforward, right? Can't wait to draw this model. Yes? Appropriate emojis for, you know, is there an emoji that indicates, I guess just a thumbs up is the one that says I understand or I get it or I know what we're doing, right? And so then use the remainder of our time to fill up this page, and then you may need some time after that. And I will see fragments of faces coming over to me, and I will see drawings of Merv the dog coming over to me, right? Superb. Wonderful. Okay, put on some very good music, ingest some comforting food or beverage, and remember what you know. And you might even replay some video of recorded lessons from the class, or, you know, zip through and find particular things or particular stuff as reminders, and give me your best effort, okay? Very nice. Draw like the wind, and I look forward to your submissions. Okay? All right. Drawing time.
Sorry, when do we need to submit this by?
Oh, the end of the week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. See you soon.
All right. Would it be, just because I've got some paper deadlines, would it be okay if I got this to you like Monday, Tuesday or something?
I could live with that.
Okay.
Oh, should we do this on newsprint or on the?
Oh, now there's a good question. I'm thinking about this on the drawing paper, and I'm thinking about this with graphite. But if you want to do some with Conte crayons or charcoal, you know, you could switch. It would mean an additional page, but that's fine. I would be more than happy to have some that were done on newsprint with the crayons and the Conte, you know, with the messier stuff. That's fine. Okay.
But also on the oh man, the whatchamacallit, the I can't believe I forgot what it's called. The Strathmore.
Yeah. Yeah, so make sure you do some on, if you do some on newsprint, make sure you do some on the thick paper too.
Okay.
But you're welcome to do, some on newsprint with chalk, Okay?
Okay.
Happy Merv drawing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.